What's going on? It's Big A the Manky Geek here, coming at you with another video, and this time I'm going to talk about Overwatch comics, because the other day I was on Comixology and I decided to kind of look into the Overwatch comics, and seeing that they were free, completely free on Comixology, I thought, you know what, I may as well download all 15 that there currently are at the moment and give them a look and see what they're saying. So yeah, I downloaded them and I read them all, and this is pretty much my opinion on what I think of the Overwatch comics. But before we get into that, let me just explain a little bit as to how I'm familiar with Overwatch. So when the BlizzCon trailer for Overwatch dropped, I think it was what, 2014, I was I was like amazed. I was like, yo, this looks Disney Pixar level animation, like for the short and all that. You had Winston and Reaper, Widowmaker and Tracer all fighting in that museum where you see Doomfist's fists, I believe. And yeah, it just looked like a great trailer. And so I watched it and I was like, this needs to be a film. They need to like just turn it into a film. It just looks so dope as a movie. And then obviously as time went on, I obviously learned that the game was going to be kind of like a multiplayer shooter and all that kind of stuff. And then the game dropped in like 2016 May and like set the world on fire. It's completely skill based. Like all the loot boxes and loot crates, they're all to do with cosmetics. None of them are to do with like improving any of the skills of the characters, because it all depends on who's operating a character and how a team works together. And I think that's why people love it so much, man. That and the fact that there's so many characters from all over the shop. I also love all the shorts that they do as well, because they expand upon the lore a little bit, but they're also just well animated. They're just really, really good. And again, watching them all just makes me go, where's my Overwatch movie? Like, I know I don't play the game, but where is my Overwatch movie? It's also pretty major on the esports scene as well. It's highly popular. I've not watched the stream myself, but I hear they're extremely entertaining. Unfortunately, the game doesn't have a campaign. So when you've got a game that doesn't have a campaign, how do you expand upon the lore? Well, you produce shorts, which they've done, but also they do comic books as well. So the comic books kind of like delve into the various characters that you'll see in the game. The first Overwatch comic came out in May of 2016, and it was about McCree, and it was called Train Hopper. So the way in which an Overwatch comic works is that it's usually around 10 pages long. Most of them focus on like one, maybe two characters from the franchise, and they'll kind of delve into like the personality of the character. So the McCree Train Hopper, he's reluctant to get involved in situations where he has to be heroic. He's kind of like the man with no name in a little bit, in a way, kind of definitely Clint Eastwood kind of inspired. And he gets himself into a situation where he has no option but to get involved because no one else can help. But really, ultimately, he just wants to be left alone. That's his whole shtick. And that's the kind of things that we're getting in these comics. They're about 10 pages long. They're just character kind of assessments, and you just get to know a bit about the characters. And for 10 pages, for absolutely free, that's actually, it's actually pretty good. It's even better if you're aware of more of the lore from the game, because all of the stories are kind of out of sync. They're not in any chronological order timeline wise, so it will jump about a bit, but you can kind of piece together as to where you are. Unfortunately, there's not like one whole story. You're just getting little bits of things, and like I said, they are free, so what you're getting for free is actually pretty damn good. Some of the stories take place while Overwatch is in operation, others take place after it's been disbanded. It all kind of jumps about a little bit, but there's a few things in there that like kind of you'll become familiar with them as time goes on. Now the art for the books is really interesting, because I thought it was going to be just one art style all the way throughout, but each book tends to have a different art style. However, all the characters are drawn in the same way that they appear in the game, so you're never unfamiliar with like who you're looking at, who's in the story. But from issue to issue, it still feels the same, which is weird. It's like it's a slightly different art style, but yet the characters look the same. And although any kind of coloring is done, in a similar fashion, it, it still all feels like the same world. Like going from reading McCree and then Reinhardt, the Reinhardt one is kind of is that style whereby no characters have like a black outline. It all looks like kind of like um, paper, cut out paper. Like South Park, for example. None of the characters in South Park have like a black outline. And that's kind of, if you when you see the comic, you'll get what I mean when I say that. And I'm not really doing a good job of explaining it, but none of the characters have an outline, but it's still the same art style in a way. It's weird. It's like I'm finding it really difficult to explain, but even though it's a different art style, it's still the same, so therefore it's not jarring going from issue to issue when the art style changes, and it still feels like it's all set in the same world, which is actually quite an achievement. I think that's super impressive. It got to the point where I was going from issue to issue, and I kind of stopped noticing the kind of difference in art style, which was really peculiar, because usually I'm the kind of guy when if I'm reading a comic and then a different artist comes on board, even for a fill-in issue, I'll get a bit annoyed. I'll get a bit angry. And I'll be like, oh, why though? Because I was enjoying the previous artist. But this doesn't have that problem for some reason, the Overwatch series. Now, in terms of writing, everything's pretty simple. It'll be a character put into a situation. You'll see how they react. It focuses on like what they learn in the moment, redemption, good deeds, all that kind of stuff. It's all about kind of heroes, really, a lot of it, and the good actions that heroes carry out, even reluctant heroes as well. Trace's issue is set during Christmas, and it's all about her trying to find a present for her partner, but she keeps on getting sidetracked because people need her help, and so she keeps on helping people, and it's just full of good deeds, man. Like the heroes in Overwatch are the purest kind of hero you can imagine, and the writing just kind of lends itself to that kind of stuff perfectly. It's just everything that's mentioned is in the moment and is in regards to the situation at hand. We're not we're able to tell who the character is merely through their actions. We don't have to be told via dialogue or caption boxes or stuff like that. It's all you see it happen, you see it before you, and you understand it. That's something that I think current Marvel is actually missing from some of their writing, that it's not about actions anymore. You're just being told as to why someone's so great. You're not seeing them do something that's really good and great, which therefore explains as to why they're such a good hero. A good deed, good hero. It's that simple. Now there are bits of lore spattered through as well, like the whole Omnic War. Humans were at war with some robots called the Omnics at some point around the time Overwatch formed, I believe. But there's not a whole kind of like lot of kind of lore in there. It's kind of peculiar because you get to know each of these characters, but the chronological order of things, it doesn't let you go from A to B. It's like you're jumping around all the alphabet, really, to be honest. And you are seeing the beginnings of some characters, and you're seeing others you're not seeing that much at all. Like there's actually a lot of characters that you haven't even seen in any Overwatch comics yet, for whatever reason. I don't know, but there's a whole heap of characters. So these comics could go on for quite a while. I'm not sure when the next one's dropping. The biggest flaw with the Overwatch comics is that they are only 10 pages, but however, it is free, so that's kind of like the trade-off. I think like a few more pages, another 10 pages, you could add so much more and kind of build it that like these comics would be like super enjoyable. Because Overwatch is like, it's kind of like G.I. Joe, but for a new generation in a way. It's like there's characters from all over, they all do different things, they're all unique, and it is pretty much like G.I. Joe, but like new G.I. Joe, an international G.I. Joe even. In an ideal world, what you'd have is you'd have kind of like the Overwatch comics. If they were proper comics, you'd have like a whole kind of range of Overwatch comics. So you'd have kind of your most popular heroes would have their own comic, their own run, and then you'd have like the team book being the Overwatch book. And obviously those individual titles can tie into what's happening in the main Overwatch comic. And then you can also have like a Blackwatch team book as well for the covert ops. And there could be kind of like just a whole range of like Overwatch comics. Obviously it would be quite time consuming to do, and also You need to do that in chronological order. You need to start at the beginning of the Overwatch story, and then obviously have all the writers kind of tie into the same events that are going on in the main Overwatch book. But they do have the potential to do that. It's just, well, will comic fans care? It depends how much people, because I mean, not everyone who's going to read the book is going to play the game, and not everyone who's played the game is going to read the book. So you've kind of got that issue there. But they could do that. I mean, that's the way I would do it if, well, if we lived in the perfect world, which we don't. But that would be great if they could. Unfortunately, they can't for whatever reason, or have decided not to. So you're just getting these kind of like short stories, and it's a shame because I read all of these and I want more. Like that's a flaw. Another flaw is there's not enough. I want more of it. I actually really enjoy it. I was able to read them really quickly. Like I said, they get straight to the point, and they're really good free comics. Like they really are. So overall, I would say the Overwatch comics are worth getting because they're free. I know there's a lot of trash free stuff out there, but this is actually pretty good quality, and you will actually, well, you will leave wanting more. Like they're just simple, straight to the point. It's kind of, I feel like it's comics at its purest, or American style comics at its purest anyway, because like I said, it's all simple, straight to the point stuff. It's like they've taken an old school method, an old school style of kind of storytelling, which can be quite basic at times, but they've made it for modern day, and it's still interesting. Like I don't understand as to why other comic companies find it so hard to tell kind of like just pure stories. Like just have your heroes be heroes. It doesn't matter what they are. Just have your heroes be heroes. Also, I failed to mention that it does actually do kind of some stories involving some of the villains. But I guess all Overwatch characters are called heroes, regardless as to whether they're actually villains or not, because when you pick them in the game, that's what I'm assuming anyway. Tell me if I'm wrong or not. But they are the villains, like people like Doomfist. I remember seeing his short film when he was introduced. He actually breaks out of prison at the end. There's actually a comic that continues after that's actually happened. So some of them do tie into kind of like short movies and stuff like that. Only a small number of them do. Like the Russian lady, I forget her name. I want to say Arya, or it might be Anya. But hers continues after the introduction of a character in one of the shorts as well. The hacker lady, whose name I've completely forgotten, but she's the one who goes boop people's noses. And yeah, her story begins after that. And I was actually like, oh, okay. But yeah, they all jump about a bit, and it's a bit like, but they're actually, I'm waffling. They're actually pretty good comics. Like, seriously, I suggest picking them up. Let me know if you intend to pick up or download any of the Overwatch comics via Comixology. Like, comment, subscribe, share, hit the bell notification, and of course, I'll catch you on the next one.